some of my watermelons leaves are getting a bit yellow. What can cause this is like maybe drought-like condition, lack of nitrogen, or inconsistent watering. Here are the melon plants on this trellis on the south side of the house. I have some baby melons coming on and I have to take action right now. These leaves, they're getting yellow, and that is showing me something that I will talk about with you guys further on in this video. So what I'm going to do here, I have this piece of 4x4. I'm going to be putting it down just for the compost and the rabbit manure that I'll be putting here doesn't escape. Also have some cucumbers here hiding away, need to harvest them. If you don't stay on top of your cucumber harvest, then these things are going to mature on the plants and the plant will start dying back. So you have to stay on top of that. But this is a watermelon video, so I'm going to just start out and show you guys exactly what I'm doing. Watermelons are the icon of summer eating, and if you want to grow your own watermelon, nothing is going to be more rewarding. So come along with me in this video as I show you guys how I care for my watermelons. Last year, if you guys go back and watch my maybe 4th video of the gardening season last spring, I was showing you guys my watermelon. And watermelon, they'll tell you that watermelons love a well-drained soil, and everything is true about that. Watermelon, they love to be in a well-drained soil. However, a next trick to watermelon is that you should always keep that soil that those watermelons are in a bit moist, not soggy, but a bit moist. And in doing so, it is good if you can put some form of mulch around those watermelon roots just to keep them a bit cool. They are a warm season crop. They love to be in full sun and direct sunlight. However, whenever the watermelons start bearing or start fruiting, that root area, you want to keep it moist and cool as possible. Where the leafy area is and the fruit are exposed, that will need a lot of sunlight. But for your root system, your watermelon is going to need to stay a bit cooler than the above temperature. Using mulch is a good idea for watermelon, even though they love a well-drained soil. So what the mulch really do is to just help that well-drained soil to contain a bit more moisture over a longer period of time. It also helps to keep those plant roots cool whilst fruiting, so it really makes a difference when you mulch those watermelon roots. So pruning also helps to control the amount of watermelons you're going to get on that plant, and it also helps with airflow and for you not to be wasting your time on a watermelon plant. And I'm going to take you guys in a bit closer and just show you exactly what I'm talking about. Pruning also helps to control the amount of melons, because too much melons on a plant can lead to stress. The plant will reject some of those fruit. So most of those watermelons, they'll just grow to the size of maybe an egg or a bit bigger, and then they'll just fall off. And if you have ever tried watermelon before, maybe that has happened to you. You want to prune back those watermelon so that you have just enough watermelon to support, which that plant can support, I should say. And then now you have to keep on feeding that watermelon plant. So they are heavy feeder and they are heavy drinkers. So in saying that, it's best to get a few watermelons than to have a ton of watermelon coming up on the plant and you're not going to get most of them anyways. So pruning is quite essential for watermelons. And if you guys notice, some of my watermelons leaves are getting a bit yellow. What can cause this is like maybe drought-like condition, lack of nitrogen, or inconsistent watering. Maybe it's inconsistent watering for me because these are in a location where I hardly get to water them. and I'm going to have to stay on top of that right now to get these tiny fruits right here to start to mature. So I'm going to have to be watering this watermelon plant on a daily basis. So because this plant is in the native soil and we have a sandy soil here in Florida, I went ahead and I put some compost around it, and now I'm going to mulch it also. So I'm going to go in with some straw just to keep this area a bit cooler and so that it can retain more moisture, because this is the result of maybe poor watering or inconsistent watering. For most gardeners planting watermelon these days in this time, we're going to be using some form of bag soil from the big box store, or we're going to be putting them directly in our native soil. If you're in a sandy area like me here in Florida, you're going to want to water your watermelons, as I said before, on a daily basis, not twice a week like what you hear some gardeners may telling you, because those gardeners may have a loamy or a clay-like soil, which would be correct for them to water it 2 or 3 times a week. For us, we're going to need to put water on these on a daily basis. Watermelons are like 90% water. So with your watermelons, they're like some little reservoir in your garden. They just need water. Water, water, water. Don't allow them to sog, but keep them moist. Keep that soil around the root area as moist as possible. I'm going to take it down again and show you guys a watermelon that has formed, and I think that one will make it through. I don't need this plant to go all over this trellis now with those melons that I'm seeing on it. So here we have a watermelon right there, and that's a sugar baby, and we have one more over here. My aim is to have 6 watermelon per plant, and then I can do back with most of the plant. There's a next watermelon right there. So the moment I can find 6 good watermelons on these plants, then I'll start cutting the tip of them. Other than that, I'm going to just prune, get rid of some of the leaves, and allow better airflow. Right here, this is watermelon mixed in with cucumbers. The reason why I put the cucumbers with the watermelon, the cucumbers are not long livers, so they will go before that watermelon even mature. This is a pumpkin right here, and pumpkins and watermelon, they don't grow similarly. Even though they are vining crop, they grow totally different. So with the pumpkin, whilst the pumpkin runs underground, it will form roots, tap into the soil to get nutrients. So these little roots that you see here, as the pumpkin runs along the ground or vines along the ground, it will develop these roots that taps into the ground for nutrient, or tap into your soil for nutrient. So with the pumpkin, you have all these roots that taps in. So the pumpkin will pick up nutrient at different points. For the watermelon, you're working with that one single root area or root system, where you have to be feeding your watermelon directly at that root area. The pumpkins, they will spread and they will get nutrient and they will just build up. Watermelon, one root, it's gonna need a lot of water. As I said before, watermelons are maybe like, I'm not sure, but they're maybe like 90% water. So you're gonna need to feed those things for them to take up that water into those fruit when they start fruiting. These watermelons, because the fruits haven't gotten big enough, I'm not gonna prune them too heavily, because I just want to wait and see exactly how these fruit perform, and then I can go ahead and give it a heavy prune back. But for now, I'm just going to cut a few leaves off and a few stems that we have coming out, and I'm not going to throw the leaves, these watermelon leaves, back to the base of the plant. So I'm just going to watch them, see, and as soon as I can identify a few fruit that looks promising, then I'll go and give it a heavy prune back, so that I can just have those fruit, have the plant focusing and directing energy on those fruit specifically. You guys see me going from one location to another. The location around that side, that is the south side of the yard. Closer to that location was where I had those watermelons last season that bared a whole lot. But then I allowed them to run too much, and some of them went on top of my pergola, and it was quite difficult to get those watermelons. So I won't be making that mistake this year. But for these on this side, this is the west side of the yard. I have some bites on these leaves. I'm not sure what's happening with them. This is the west side of the yard, and I'm going to try to contain these. I'm not sure how well these are going to do because this area doesn't get a lot of sun. I'm going to cut back some of this amaranth, and I'm going to clear this bed and put maybe like okras in it and space them a bit so that these watermelons may get a lot of sunlight. These melons that I have here, I planted them basically the same time that I planted those around that side, and those are doing quite well. So maybe these are too shaded, and then we have this big tree hanging over. Maybe these are a bit too shaded, but I'm just going to try with them just to see how they work in this part of the garden. I know cucumbers do well around this side, so if the watermelons they don't make it, I'll just go with cucumbers for this side. For fertilizer, I'm still going with my rabbit manure, but if you can't get rabbit manure, 10-10-10 is a good fertilizer to go for with watermelons if you're not sure. 10-10-10 doesn't mean that the fertilizer is a balanced fertilizer. I hear gardeners talk that myth most of the time on the internet, and nothing could be further from the truth. It is just the ratio of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium that is in that fertilizer. So a balanced fertilizer is going to be a fertilizer that provides a plant with all the nutrients that it needs or the nutrients that it's lacking for it to perform at its best. That's going to be a balanced fertilizer for any plant. So a 10-10-10, a 3-6-4, whatever the number may be, that doesn't mean that that fertilizer is a balanced fertilizer. It's how you're going to apply it and what crop you're going to put it with is going to really matter whether this is balanced or not. But otherwise, it is just the ratio of nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium within those fertilizers. Once your watermelon set fruit, like what you see I have here, just start fertilizing them. Don't worry about the balance as I'm talking about, because I just mentioned that because it's leading a lot of gardeners astray. Just go ahead with whatever fertilizer you can get your hands on most of the time, and you can put it maybe about 3 to 4 inches away from the root. Read your package labeling and apply accordingly, or do some research. But if you're going in with organic, you can just go directly to the root. It's a rainy day, it's a windy day for me, and I'm trying out a new camera today, so this is just going to be a short video on how I'm preparing my watermelons now that they start to form fruit. So just continue to watch. If you have watermelons at this stage, you can go ahead, start mulching them, start putting down some fertilizer, keep that water on them. That's going to be it from CountryMarro. God bless you all. See you in the next one. Happy gardening and cheers.